Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, this is our second lesson on علم الصرف, the science of morphology. In this lesson, we'll be learning about الفعل الماضي, which is the past tense verb. Now, before we get into that, I just want to explain a few things. So if we take any past tense verb in its base form, we're speaking of one person who is masculine and the verb has already been completed. So it's actually speaking about the verb being done in the past. So as an example, let's take جلس محمد. Muhammad sat. The verb is put in front. Now we'll discover later on actually in Arabic, you can actually change the positions. So Muhammadun jalasa is also grammatically correct. And it has a slightly different meaning. And there are nuances that one learns later on when one gets into more advanced Arabic. But the point is, we have the verb jalasa. And who is the doer of this action? It's Muhammad. Muhammad sat. This is what's known as an intransitive verb. Now, what does intransitive mean? It's an action that is only performed by the doer of the action. So Muhammad sat. An example of a transitive verb is nasara. So if I said nasara Muhammadun Khalidan. Nasara means he helped. So it would be Muhammad helped Khalid. So the act of helping was already done in the past, and it was done by Muhammad, and the recipient of the help was Khalid. So when there is a recipient of the action, it could be a human, it could be an object, whatever it is, we call this type of verb transitive. And it's important to know the difference there. Another difference is the difference between active and passive, and this is why I mentioned the transitive and intransitive verbs. The active voice and the passive voice. We're going to be concentrating on the active voice. So what is the active voice? It's when the doer of the action, the one who is performing the action, in this case Muhammad, he's actually mentioned. So Muhammad helped Khalid. When we look at the passive voice, we take the doer out. Not that there is no doer, but that the doer is not mentioned. So we say Nusira Khalidun. And notice the actual grammatical state changes. We'll talk about this later on in grammar in more detail. But I just want to draw attention to this. When we talk about the passive voice, we use, in this case, Nusira. Don't worry about the change in the vowels there. But what it means here, Khalid was helped. So Nusira Khalidun means that Khalid was helped. But we don't know who helped him. Somebody helped him, but we don't know who that person is. And in fact, it could have been more than one person that helped Khalid. And in this case, the verb would not change. So Nusira is he was helped. Who did the helping? It's not mentioned. So we're not talking about the passive voice. We'll be speaking about the active voice. Okay, so that's a point there. So any active voice, past tense verb, will have the three base letters. All past tense verbs will actually be represented by the following. So each of these letters represent the three letters of any past tense verb. So the first radical, which we call the fa kalima, the fa of the word, is the first letter. The ain of the word, or ain kalima, is the second radical. And the lam kalima, the lam of the word, is the third radical. So that's just some terminology there. Now what you notice on the fa and the lam is a fatha. This is because the past tense verb will always have a fatha on the first letter and the third letter. And we talk about, as we said, the active voice. It will always be the case. No exceptions. And what varies is the vowel, the haraka, on the second letter. This could be either a fatha, a kasra, or a dhamma. Which one is it? This is based on the usage of the Arabs, especially what we find in the Quran. Now, how do we actually know what the harakat will be? Because in Arabic script, usually the harakat, the vowels, are not written down. So if we actually come across a verb, it's 3 letters. How are we going to know how to pronounce it? Now, a good way to find out is to actually use a dictionary. Try to find a dictionary that actually mentions what the haraka is. A popular dictionary that students use is the Hans Wehr dictionary. So as an example, if we go to, we have the sheen, the ha, and the ra. And here we can see from these letters, the A after the sheen, and there's an A after the ha, and there's an A after the ra. So that would be shahara. He was well known. He was famous. Now if we look at this entry here, we have the sheen, the ha, and the dal. If we look at this entry, what do we see? We understand that the first and third radical both have the A, but the middle here, there's an I here, which represents a kasra. So it's shahida, which means he was a witness. And here, in this entry, after the sin, there's a U. It's hasuna. So what does hasuna mean? If we look at the entry, it says to be handsome. So he was handsome, beautiful, lovely, nice, good, or even it was good, fine, suitable, proper, and so on. So that can be used for both the intelligent and the non-intelligent. Now, when it comes to intelligence, we're speaking of human beings. Everything else on the earth will be considered non-intelligent. That letter next to it, that's related to the present tense verb. We'll cover that later on. We have, for example, sami'a, which means he heard. The middle letter gets a kasra. Another verb, shariba, he drank. And the ra, which is the middle letter, also gets a kasra. Now, can you guess these two verbs, sami'a and shariba, are they transitive or intransitive? You probably guessed it. They're transitive. Because he heard, you could ask, what did he hear? Or who did he hear? So the who or what asking this question shows that it is a transitive verb. Similarly, he drank. What did he drink? And so we understand it's transitive. Also, with some base letters, we can have more than one past tense verb form. So as an example, we have these two verbs, labisa and labasa. Now they are both related meanings. One of them means he wore, and that's transitive. So what did he wear? He wore clothes, for example. And it can also be used metaphorically as well, to wear something. Like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about libasu taqwa, the covering of at-taqwa, of God consciousness. But we also have labasa. Labasa means it was obscure, or it was confusing. So the matter was not clear, in other words. It became confused. And the relationship between these two would be that when something is covered over with something else, it becomes unclear. But the point is, we have two verb forms here. One with the middle radical being a fatha, and one of them being a kasra. Now, if you were to go to the Hans Wehr dictionary and look up this entry, you will only find labisa. It doesn't mention there is a different verb form for both of these meanings. Both meanings are mentioned in the dictionary, but under one verb form. So the reason for this is that the Hans Wehr dictionary is a dictionary of modern standard Arabic, not Quranic Arabic. So I just wanted to mention that point and highlight a limitation of this dictionary. Now, the Hanswehr dictionary will suffice most students in their studies. And obviously, when you study the Quran is at a different level, which will require more in-depth resources and to learn from those who have the knowledge. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون.
قال محمد هو ابن مالك أحمد رب الله خير مالك مصليا على النبي المصطفى وآله المستكملين الشرفا وأستعين الله في ألفية مقاصد النحو بها نحوية تقرب الأقصى بلفظ الموجز وتبسط البذل بوعد منجز.